Well, it wasn't what the GOP was planning, that's for sure. But now, with 3 candidates left in this race for the White House, some key members of the party, like Lindsey Graham, Jeb Bush, are backing Texas Senator Ted Cruz for president in an effort to prevent Donald Trump from getting the nomination. So how will this play out as we move toward the convention in July? Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich is a Fox News contributor, joins me right now. Mr. Speaker, good to see you.
It's good to see you. And I think it's an extraordinary moment which nobody could have predicted 6 or 8 months ago. So it's a little dangerous to predict now, because the truth is none of us knew that you'd have Donald Trump as the front runner. Nobody would have dreamed that you'd have Ted Cruz as the savior of the establishment. It's pretty remarkable. It
really is. And when you look at these most recent Fox News polls, you can see that actually it is a lot tighter than I think certainly Donald Trump would have thought. We're looking at a neck-and-neck race here, according to these latest polls, between Cruz and Trump.
Well, the Cruz theory all along had been that if other people got out, that in a one-on-one race that the anti-Trump vote was larger than the pro-Trump vote. The first real test of that, I think, is going to be in Wisconsin in about 2 weeks. And it's a big deal. I mean, I think that in many ways Cruz has to win Wisconsin in order to make sense out of his strategy. But if he does win Wisconsin, it's going to force Trump to really focus on winning states like New York in order to get to the numbers he needs to be nominated. This is not a done deal. Cruz has run a very intelligent race with great technology and a great investment in grassroots organization. Trump has run a brilliant race with earned media. So the two really very different styles. But nobody in Washington would have believed 6 months ago that the choice was going to come down to Cruz and Trump. And that has to be a very sobering realization for the old establishment.
Yeah, for sure. And now we're seeing that old establishment rally around Cruz, by the way, and obviously they weren't counting on that. So this makes Wisconsin that much more important, right? I mean, we're going to speak to Ted Cruz in a few minutes, and when I caught up with him earlier this week, he basically said, look, I don't need a contested convention because I'm going to get the 1237 delegates going into that July convention. Is that possible?
Well, it's possible. It would require running the table a little more than I think is likely. I think he has to get something like 80% of the remaining delegates. But he's probably counting on Kasich's delegates coming with him and on Rubio's delegates coming with him, and that makes it a little bit easier. And I think he sincerely believes, that in a head-to-head race between he and Trump, that Trump can't get to a majority anywhere. So it's going to be fascinating to see. Trump so far has turned out to be a very good student of this game, and he's clearly going to have to make some adjustments from what he's done up to now, because he's in a different environment with different expectations. I would say that Cruz has a real shot at it, probably a better shot than you might have thought 3 or 4 weeks ago. And watching people like Jeb Bush rally to Cruz is a very interesting phenomenon, both because of the degree to which the Washington establishment did not like Cruz until he was the only alternative, but also I think the question is about to become the next few days, does Cruz become the insider candidate, and does that actually start to backfire? I mean, I think he's got to walk a pretty tight rope here between gathering up all of these folks and remaining an outsider, because it's clear that the majority of Republican voters want an outsider. They don't want the establishment picking the candidate.
How much do you read into these polls? I mean, I look at these latest Fox News polls, and one thing that is pretty evident is that when it comes to the general election, Ted Cruz can beat Hillary Clinton, John Kasich can beat Hillary Clinton, but not so with Donald Trump. Donald Trump has been saying he's the guy to beat Hillary Clinton. The establishment has pushed back and said, no, this is the problem. You're not going to beat Hillary Clinton. And these polls show he loses to Clinton. Do you believe that to be true?
No. I remember that in 1980, in March, Ronald Reagan was 25 points behind President Jimmy Carter. 25 points. So I think it's a long way from here to the general election. I think whoever we nominate, whether it is Kasich or Cruz or Trump, will beat Hillary Clinton, because I think her core vulnerabilities are so enormous that in the end she's not going to be able to survive a general election. But I think it's important to remember that right now you have a very tough fight underway. You have a lot of media opposed to Trump. You have a lot of the Republican establishment opposed to Trump. And so he's got to climb his way past that. He also has to remember to stay focused on the nomination. He can't afford to shift into a general election style yet, because he hasn't finished winning the nomination. I think he's got a pretty hard fight with Cruz over the next few weeks, and we'll see. I think Trump has the advantage, but I think that it's not 90-10. It's more like 60-40 or 65-35.
What did you make of Paul Ryan's speech, basically laying it on the line, saying he's disturbed by the GOP and American politics right now?
Well, I agree with him. I think he should be disturbed. I've been disturbed much of my career. I came out of a background of Ronald Reagan and Jack Kemp, and then what we did with the contract with America. I hope that Speaker Paul Ryan is going to be part of creating a better, more idea-oriented, more inclusive Republican Party. I know that's what he wants to do. And I think in that sense that his speech is a beacon of hope for all the younger Republicans who are looking for a future in which they can be very proud of a governing party. And I think he's got to be a little frustrated. This has been a primary season that has had a lot more tweets and attacks and not just Donald Trump. I mean, you had Rubio and Cruz for a long stretch, each yelling liar, liar about the other one. So there have been a fair amount of things here. You had the Jeb Bush PAC spend, I think, $25 million attacking Marco Rubio. So it's just been a mess, which is frankly the nature of these kind of primaries. When you start out with 17 candidates, there's going to be a fair amount of negativity knocking people out.
Wow, it's quite extraordinary. Mr. Speaker, always a pleasure to see you. Happy Easter to you and family.
Happy Easter, great.
Thank you so much. Newt Gingrich there.